Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of the NASCAR Heat 5 Career Mode. I hope you're all having a great day. Today we go racing at Martinsville Speedway in all three series, the Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, as well as the Cup Series. And we all share one thing in common for each three series for today's episode. Our custom Truck Series team is on the outside looking in to try and get into the Final Four, and so is the star car for Joe Gibbs Racing in that number 20, and myself in the Cup Series. Somehow we find ourselves on the outside looking in, going into that one as well. So it's going to be a tough day here in Martinsville, and hopefully we can make it into the Final Four for all three series. Now in the Cup Series, it's going to be a close one. We are, I think, 6 points below the cut line going into that one. So it's going to be an interesting day here in Martinsville now as we would get underway here for the Texas Roadhouse 200 here at Martinsville. We had subscriber Brian Lorenzo in the truck here as he came through out of turn 2, so you can see started actually outside of the top 10 here in Martinsville, but immediately would get up in behind Matt Crafton there on that inside, but then he gets slammed into actually by the 51 of Riley Herbst there. So Herbst not afraid to be physical at all there as he just sent it up to the inside of Brian, but he would actually send it back up now Riley's inside into turn 1 and get to the side of him, make a little bit of contact, but make the move work there and clear him out of turns 2. Now as he was side by side with Ben Rhodes in that 99, but then he gets up the inside of the 13, nearly into the back there of that number 88 of Crafton as he came through at a turn 4 side by side now with Brett Moffitt as he was working his way forwards very quickly. As you can see here a little bit later in the race, not afraid to use that bumper as he was right on the back of that 18 now of Christian Eckes as he went down the front straightaway. He would actually be able to get up the inside of him going into turn 1, and he would be able to make that pass, and he just continued to move his way forward, now passing the 4 of Rafael Lassard into turn 3. Then he ran down Haley Deegan in the number 38 truck as he came through at a turn 4, and she's already won her way into the Final Four, so Brian was not waiting around whatsoever. He gets up the inside, makes the pass right away, and climbs all the way up into the 3rd position here in Martinsville, but unfortunately that was pretty much as far as Brian Lorenzo would be able to get here as it came through now through turns 3 and out of turn 4, trying to run down the 98 of Grant Enfinger, the 52 of Stuart Friesen, but it didn't look like it was going to happen as he came through to finish P3 here in Martinsville. And unfortunately, I can confirm P3 was not enough to make it into the Final Four. I accidentally skipped through the playoff kind of grid right here that you will see, but I can confirm we missed the Final Four by just about 7 points here, unfortunately, in Martinsville for the Truck Series. So now we come through, though, into the Xfinity Series side of things, and same situation, a little bit more points out, I think, going into the Xfinity side of things, but definitely going to need an extremely good finish from Ty Gibbs here in the star car for Joe Gibbs Racing in this number 20, preferably a victory now. That would obviously get us into the Final Four, but he had a bit of a better qualifying effort than we had in the Truck Series. Ty actually qualified in P6 on the outside there of Zane Smith as he goes down into turn 1, but at this point, P6 would not cut it. He would not be able to make it into the Final Four with a 6th place finish, although a 6th place finish, very strong at a track like Martinsville, but like I said, still would not be enough. Now as it goes down into turn 3 behind that 44 of Tommy Joe Martins, he had Jeremy Clements in the 51 up the inside out of turn 4 as they were side by side coming through to cross the line to complete the first and opening lap, and immediately a driver like Justin Allgaier driving away along with the 98 of Todd Gilliland, then the 9 of Zane Smith. So it looks like Gilliland, Smith, they're going to definitely be the favorites in Phoenix for the championship, I think, now as you see Ty Gibbs actually went up the inside 3 wide there, making some moves as he was trying to work his way back forwards, but unfortunately he really struggled throughout this race to run anybody down after he made that 3 wide pass. As you can see, the cars up ahead of him, they'd actually driven away as this race went on, as he was just not able to really run down Austin Cindric, and he would just kind of stay here. We came through towards the end of this race now, going down the back straightaway into turn 3 on the final lap, and it was Justin Allgaier who would come through to pick up the victory here in Martinsville now as we come through out of turn 4, and Ty Gibbs comes through to cross the line there just in front of the 11 of Justin Haley. So it ended up being a P6 finish now, as actually it said my name. I forgot to change it, but it was Ty Gibbs who was supposed to be in the car. Now, as you see the finishing order on your screen. Now, so once again, like the Truck Series, unfortunately, it was not enough to get the star car into the Final Four. As you see, they missed it by a very solid 23 points, so pretty much had to win now. But that brings us into the Cup Series side of things. So far, 2 races down where we were on the outside looking in, and we didn't make it. So we come through now into the third attempt of being on the outside looking in, and hopefully the most important attempt. We will find ourselves in the Final Four for the first time in our Cup Series career at the end of this episode. Now, as we come through into qualifying, the goal was to hit a 19.850, and the car felt pretty good here as I put a bit of a looser preset in the car. In qualifying, we come through out of turn 4 though, and it is going to be just barely better than the goal here with the 19.781, and we qualify in the 8th position for the Blue Emu 500 at Martinsville Speedway. So a relatively solid qualifying effort now, as you see Martin Truex Jr. on pole, Denny Hamlin second. Hamlin in a must-win scenario. Same for a driver like Kevin Harvick as well. Now, as you see the rest of the grid on your screen now, as we got Daniel Suarez down there in P29, and at the very bottom of the field is Ryan Newman. Whatever happens, happens today, guys. We know how to win. I'm confident we'll be in the Final Four at the end of it. There you heard myself on the radio as we're ready to take the green flag here in the Blue Emu 500 now, as we are on the outside looking in on this playoff grid. Kurt Busch and Brad Keselowski have won themselves in, and Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr. currently find themselves on the inside of the playoff grid for the Final Four, but we still have a chance to point our way in. So we're less than 10 points below the cut line. Last season when we came into this race, we were, I think, like 16 points below the cut line, and we still almost made it in over Joey Logano, who actually made the Final Four. So I'm confident that we can probably get in today still now, as we get ready to take the green flag in what it will be our final effort to make it to the Final Four here in our final season with the Joe Gibbs Racing team, before moving over to the Hendrick Motorsports next season in that number 24 car. As we go down into turn 1, Kevin Harvick already takes us 3 wide actually into turn 1. He just slipped around my outside, and he's going to be side by side even with us down the backstretch, but now we are actually able to get in behind the 88 of Eric Jones now as we go down into turn 3, the second final race for Eric Jones in that number 88 of Hendrick Motorsports. Unfortunately for Eric, he hasn't really been able to find a team to settle into throughout this career mode so far. He went to the 73 car, then he went now to the 88 car, of course got booted from the 20 car for myself, and now we're getting booted from the 20 car for Christopher Bell, who will be piloting this number 20 Toyota Camry next season in the career mode. But Eric, I'm confident, will be staying with the McLaren team for quite some time now, as we came through running down Denny Hamlin now on lap 5, so it was a decent start. Then I am now getting to the inside of Hamlin, who's in a must-win situation here after his issues in the last couple races. Now as we come through out of turn 4, Hamlin, with such a strong season it's been, now as myself and Hamlin top 2 in points pretty much all season, currently both on the outside looking in to get into the Final Four. Now as we come through out of turn 2, of course we're in a way better position than Hamlin, and now we would run down our other teammate of Kyle Busch. Now as we go down into turn 3, up the inside of him, Kyle over 10 points to the good right now, so he's in relatively decent shape, but if his race goes completely wrong, then there's definitely a chance that we could actually, myself and Martin Truex Jr. get into the Final Four, and Kyle Busch actually get eliminated. Now as we come through out of turn 2, I'd actually get stuck behind Brad Keselowski, so it took me all the way to lap 10 to clear Kyle Busch at the turns 2. Now as we go down the backstretch, and immediately as soon as I cleared him, I get up the inside of Keselowski into turn 3 now, and we will actually move up into the 4th position on the exit of turn 4. So quickly moving our way forward throughout this race, Martin Truex Jr. leading the way. Not what I wanted to see personally, because that's the driver right now that we're fighting with on points to get into this Final Four. Now as we actually have problems behind, Timmy Hill's going to go to the outside wall there after blowing a tire, and that's going to bring out the first caution of the day here in Martinsville for the Blue Emu 500. So everybody here was looking like they were going to stay out, except for of course Timmy Hill, so we would stay out. Very easy call. Kurt Busch was just behind me, so we get up to P3. Kyle Larson joining Martin Truex Jr. here on the front row in that second position as we're ready to take the green flag. So now we're up to the back of Truex, and we really need to beat Truex here in stage 1 if we want to give ourselves a better chance of making it into that Final Four. So we get through into turn 1 immediately up the inside of the 43 of Kyle Larson, as we're going to be even down the back straightaway as Truex already tries to stretch out that gap as we go down into turn 3 now, still side by side with Larson. But as we come through out of turn 4, we're going to have the advantage, and we clear Kyle Larson, who will now have to defend over the 12 of Ryan Blaney, who's really picked it up lately here in these last handful of races or so. Unfortunately, it was too late for him. He was already eliminated from the playoffs, but we came through now a few laps, or a handful of laps later on lap 21, and we had not really gained on Truex, but we didn't really lose anything on Truex either. So, and it kind of just remained like this for the coming laps now as we come through on lap 24. Now more issues though for Brendan Gaughan now, who's crashed out of turn 2. He slams into the inside wall. He reverses the car. The caution comes out again, and he's going to come through onto the track right into the front end of our car, and that damages the front end of us. Fortunately, it was under caution, so it does not actually impact us. But then I noticed we have a very split strategy happening here. I decide to play it differently and come in to the pit lane You see about 12 drivers stayed out, but I mean the one thing that worked there though was the other playoff drivers actually came in with us now as you would get back underway here for the restart, and it's only about what 5 or 4 laps to go here in stage 1. So now I was realizing we have a very good opportunity here. Martin Truex Jr., he's stuck on the outside, we're on the bottom, we can easily pass these cars now, as I honestly considered staying out at the end of that yellow and just trying to easily pick up a stage win, but then I realized we would have to give up quite a bit of track position at the end of the stage, so I didn't want to do that. And immediately now we are closing in on the top 10. We're into the top 10, actually up into 9th and into 8th now, passing Stenhouse and Truex. He's still stuck on the outside, so all of a sudden we have completely changed everything here with our playoff grid, because we are now up to 7th, going into 6th, and we're gaining all these points here on Martin Truex Jr. now as we come through out of turn 2. Then we would pass the 17 of Chris Buescher. We get to the back now of Joey Gase on the exit of turn 4, coming to just 2 laps to go now in stage 1, and we came through passing him into turn 1, so we get up to 4th. And then as we came through to approach the final lap of stage 1, we had now run down Eric Jones. I'm being very defensive there over Ryan Blaney, who tried to stick his nose up the inside as we come through out of turn 2, right on the back of the 88 of Eric Jones now, as every point at this point in the season matters, so we get up the inside of him into turn 3, and sure enough we're going to get all the way up into P3 for the end of stage 1 now as we exit turn 4. So 3rd place it is. Bowman wins the stage over 2nd place of Ross Chastain, and the best thing about this whole stage right here is we are now 2 points above the cut line. Martin Truex Jr. is now below the cut line. So we really made the right call there to pit, I think, now, as Martin Truex Jr. kind of got messed over, and it worked out perfectly for us, as, like I said, we are officially above the cut line now, Truex being the first one out. We would stay out here, get ready to take the green flag, and you see Truex not even in the top 10, so we could increase the gap to over 10 points. We could get it up to 12 points potentially above the cut line now as we get underway for the start of the 2nd stage here in Martinsville. And another thing to keep in mind is Kyle Busch also did not pick up any stage points there, so he did not gain anything either. So now it's a race between the 3 of us, between Kyle Busch, myself, and Martin Truex Jr. for the final 2 spots here in the final 4 as we exit turn 4. And you could immediately tell with how just good of a car we had. Honestly, I think Truex has the fastest car here today, but he is so far stuck in traffic that I just felt like this whole 2nd stage was just handed to us already after just 1 lap or so now as we go down the back straightaway, and we would just take command of the field here in this first opening few laps of the 2nd stage and just try to drive away, open the gap to that 43 of Kyle Larson. And we come through all the way to lap 9 of 30 now in the 2nd stage, and we had opened up that gap to Larson now, and we just had absolutely no pressure at all. But I can confirm Martin Truex Jr. at this point had worked his way just barely inside the top 10, so he was trying to minimize the damage to the points situation, but we come through on lap 14. We had now run down Corey LaJoie, the first car to get put a lap down as we go down into turn 1 around the outside of him now on the exit of turn 2, just trying to make sure I take it a little bit easy through lap traffic at this point, knowing what's at stake for us now in this point of the season. Last season we tried to get into the final 4 over Joey Logano and we came up short. Now I really wasn't going to put myself in too much danger here in this one after last season's kind of sadness and heartbreak of that Martinsville race. So we came through just kind of slowly but surely working our way through the traffic. Larson actually was able to close up the gap a little bit as I was working through the traffic, being just a little bit cautious, maybe a little bit too cautious now, but I just wanted to make sure I made the right moves and didn't get ourselves into any trouble now as we came through out of turn 4 up the inside of the 17 of Chris Buescher, and we just continue moving our way through the lap traffic. And one thing I noticed, Kyle Busch is in that group of lap traffic in front of us now. He is having a terrible stage, and Martin Truex Jr., he's up inside the top 10, so Truex is going to gain points on Kyle Busch as well, which could put Kyle in a bit of danger now, as we have gotten enough points in this stage if we hold on to approximately even with Kyle Busch on points. So then it's going to come down between still myself, Truex, and Kyle Busch, because myself and Kyle will be relatively even if we can hold on to win stage 2 now as we go down this back straightaway in front of the 1 car of Kurt Busch. We'll put him a lap down. Unfortunately for Kurt and Kyle, for Kurt and Brad Keselowski, sorry, who are having really rough races so far, they've already won themselves into the final 4. So we would now put Alex Bowman a lap down, get up the inside again of Timmy Hill, who wrecked earlier on like a lap 11, and we put him a lap down as well. And we just continue cruising throughout the rest of the stage now. There was just no pressure at all as we go down into turn 1, but then the caution actually comes out and ends stage 2 a handful of laps early. So sure enough, we get the stage to victory. Martin Truex Jr. managed to get 8th and pick up 3 points there, but obviously we picked up 10 points. So, I mean, we're even further above the cut line now, so we're in relatively good shape. Now the main goal is to just beat Martin Truex Jr., and we will be in the Final Four here at the end of this episode. Good stuff, guys. Just got to keep doing what we're doing. If we just beat the 19, we're in. So, yeah, I mean, that's just the main goal now. There you see me actually make some adjustments there on the paint line. The car felt a little bit too loose on the long run, so I adjusted to that now as we get ready to go green for this third and final stage here at Martinsville Speedway. One task is at hand now, a lot easier than this time last season. We just got to beat Martin Truex Jr., and that's pretty much it, and we will be in to the Final Four here in Martinsville. And honestly, if we finish 5 positions below Martin Truex Jr., as long as he doesn't win, even 5 positions or so below him, we will still make it now into the Final Four at this point now as we come through to turn 4. So the pressure at this point had dropped quite significantly. In the way the first stage started, I was definitely concerned with Truex running away with the stage victory, but that strategy call between a lot of the playoff drivers and then some of the slower drivers really just changed. Honestly, you could say our whole kind of result of the season now as we came through out of turns 4, now holding off the 21 of Matt DiBenedetto, who's worked his way up into that second place now, and DiBenedetto actually would surprisingly put on a lot more pressure than I kind of anticipated. He gets right up to the back of my bumper there as we came through out of turn 2, and he would stick with us. We come through to start now lap 69. Nice at this point, still 57 laps to go, but you guys know how quick 57 laps goes by at a track like Martinsville now. Is unfortunately, we just weren't driving away here to start stage 3, and DiBenedetto just continued to put some pressure on me here as we come through on lap 72 through turns 3 and out of 4, and he has still maintained pace with me, and he would just continue to just kind of get to the back of me, and then sure enough, out of lap 74, or out of turns 2 on lap 74, DiBenedetto was able to get up my inside as we go down this back straightaway into turn 3. He just had so much better turn off the corner and turn through the center of the corner than I did, and sure enough, out of turn 4, we're going to be side by side with the 21 of Matt DiBenedetto, who's just downright faster than me at this point here in Martinsville, but second place is perfectly fine for us right now. We are still in the Final Four, so I really did not care about throwing a win away or anything. I just wanted to make sure we made it into the Final Four at this point, but we came through on lap 78, and DiBenedetto opens up the gap actually between himself and I, but he had now run down lap traffic, and we always know that's going to play a large role at a track like Martinsville as well as tracks like Bristol, really any short track on the schedule. We come through now approaching lap 80 of this race, and DiBenedetto was doing an excellent job actually working his way through the lap traffic, and this is one of the best jobs I've seen an AI driver do, getting through the lap cars now. As he was going around the outside, he was going around the inside, he was doing a better job than I was now as we come through out of turn 2 up the inside of the 36 of David Reagan in his final couple races of his NASCAR career now as we come through out of turn 4 to the back of Ryan Newman, and DiBenedetto had worked his way through all of these cars now as we come through to 42 laps to go, but then of course we would have another group of lap traffic that we would have to get through, and sure enough, just like the last one, DiBenedetto has absolutely no problem going to the outside and passing these guys now, but we would start to close up just a little bit on the back of the 21 as he was battling with the 34 of McDowell as we came through on lap 88, though he would clear him into turns 3, and then I started to struggle a little bit around this point with the rear grip in the car, but it was still good enough to where I could kind of hang with DiBenedetto, but he was just downright faster, like I said, at this point. But then we come to lap 90, and he has now run down this group of Brad Keselowski, the 88 and the 48 of Jones and Bowman, and then Timmy Hill right in front of this pack of cars, and Bowman and Jones being so equal speed made it really interesting because they were side by side, but the 48 or the 88 could not get past Timmy Hill, so they were pretty much stuck side by side. So myself and DiBenedetto get into the mix here, and we find ourselves as well in the same situation, stuck behind these guys, and this would carry on for quite a few laps now. We come through on lap 94, and the same situation. I'm stuck right behind the 21 of DiBenedetto, so I'm starting to try and maybe come up with ideas what I can do. I could try to go 3 wide around the outside. I could even try 3 wide up the inside, but I was definitely kind of holding back a little bit now as I come through out of turn 2. You see me get loose there on the exit of the corner. Then I would, sure enough, try the 3 wide on the outside, and then actually clip the outside wall, but DiBenedetto, he gets held back as well, so we're side by side now with 27 laps to go for the lead, and we would continue to actually clear DiBenedetto almost into turn 3 now as we go down into the corner on the outside of the 2 of Brad Keselowski now as we have taken the lead here in Martinsville as we exit turn 4, but I'm struggling a lot with the grip, but we do clear him down into turn 1 as I send it up the inside now of the 2 of Brad Keselowski. Then the 21 actually gets into the back of us. He moves us out of the way and takes the lead right back. DiBenedetto in his final couple races in that 21 car, not holding back whatsoever as he looks for a second win of the season. 25 laps to go. Now we're approaching 24 laps to go, as well as we would get right, though, to the back of the Benedetto, as they were still side by side up in front of us now, as we actually made contact, overcorrected as the car got loose, hit the outside wall, do damage to the right side of the car, but fortunately it was not too impacting, because immediately we would run Keselowski back down, pass him in one corner, and already get to the back of the Benedetto. But this time I said I was done waiting. I get into the side of Eric Jones. Now, I know he's not a future teammate of ours. That is a future team car of ours. Now, as we're roughing it up now with the 88 of Jones a little bit, I actually got onto the side of him there down the front straightaway on purpose, just saying I've had enough of you at this point now. You guys got to learn to get out of the way of the leaders. So we now take the lead. Martin Truex Jr. had worked his way up into the second place. He had passed De Benedetto now as we go down this back straightaway. That was really the urgency of that move there, because I know if Truex wins this race, well, then we get into another situation where it's between myself and Kyle Busch, who are already very close in points, but at this point now, Kyle is quite a ways behind. But we come through on lap 111, and everybody was now coming in to do green flag pit stops, including myself here as we go down into turn 3, and we nearly crashed the car into the inside wall there coming into the pit lane. I slammed onto the brakes so hard, but it was a very easy call to make. We came in 2 right side tires, a splash of fuel to make it to the end of this race. And honestly, this was something I thought I was never going to see in the NASCAR Heat Career Mode, was a green flag pit stop at Martinsville Speedway. So we come through out of the pit lane, and the 62 actually gets into the side of us, but other than that, a very clean exit now as we go down into turn 3. So Martin Truex Jr., he was actually quite a ways behind us now, so we had a comfortable lead after this now, as we would eventually cycle out to take the lead back. And sure enough, you see here on lap 115 we are back out front, but the grip in the car was so bad, and this is why I was so thankful that we had enough of a gap now, as Cole Custer had actually moved his way into the second place at this point. So we cleared the 47 there, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. on the exit of the corner. We come to lap 118, looking, by the way, for our 6th win of the season here as we exit turn 4. You can just see how bad the grip was. I see Denny Hamlin in front of me, which means we can absolutely write Hamlin off now at this point of having a chance to win his way into the Final Four. What a disappointing round of 8 it has been for Denny Hamlin. As you can see, I'm just struggling so hard on the grip now as we come through out of turn 2 on that back of Ryan Blaney, trying to get him out of my way now as the caution comes out with 6 laps to go here in Martinsville, and this is going to force approximately a 3-lap dash for the finish of this race, as it appears to be potentially Daniel Suarez who has brought out the caution. So that was not what I wanted to see, but one thing that's fortunate for us, Martin Truex Jr. finds himself down in 5th, so we should not have to worry too much. Kyle Busch is not in a good position either, and as long as we can just bring the car home in a decent position here and Truex doesn't win, we will be in the Final Four now as we're ready to go green for what we are looking for, our 6th win of the season, as the green flag is out and 3 laps remain here in the Blue Emu 500 at Martinsville Speedway. Matt DiBenedetto back to second place on my outside. Behind us, we got the 95 of Christopher Bell. Now, he took a win away from us earlier this season at Phoenix Raceway. Now he's in a position to go for it again here as we go down into turn 3. We go a little bit wide there, clearing the 21 of DiBenedetto, and then the 95 gets up my inside, but we hold him off down the front stretch. 2 laps to go here in Martinsville now as we go down into turn 1. We do not need to win at this point to make it into the Final Four, but sure would love to pick up the victory here at the paperclip. Now, as you can see, the grip is just not there in the car as we go down into turn 3, approaching the final lap here in Martinsville Speedway. As we exit turn 4, the car gets very sideways there, and the 95 immediately pounces on that, gets up my inside as we start the final lap here in Martinsville Speedway, side by side with our affiliate teammate of Christopher Bell, who is going to take over our place next season in the 20 cars. We're sideways out of turn 2 now as we go down towards turn 3 for the final time in the Blue Emu 500 at Martinsville Speedway, and Christopher Bell is going to come through out of turn 4, take the lead now as we're sideways again into the outside wall. Even Chastain goes through, and so does Truex, as Christopher Bell picks up his 2nd win of the season. But I did not care at all that we just gave away that win, because we made the Final Four after being on the outside looking in coming into this race. Now, as you see the finishing order, Kyle Busch finished 10th. Martin Truex Jr. I think got through to get 3rd there it was, or something. So this is going to really spice up the playoff grid, which you'll see in just a moment. There you see Joey Logano. He actually DNF'd. He was in a must-win as well to get into the Final Four. We really hope he doesn't mess us up in Phoenix. Now, as you're going to see the playoff grid, there it is right there. Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch. We make it by 8 points. Kyle Busch only made it by 1 point into the final 4 over our teammate of Truex, and then of course Hamlin, Logano, and Harvick all missed it as well. So what a just kind of thrilling end there to the round of 8 there, as it really did not look like at the start of the race we were in great shape, but then the whole strategy changed, and all of a sudden we found ourselves actually above the cut line at the end of stage 1 when I thought we were going to be even lower than when we had started the race. So it just kind of worked out there at the end of that one. And as always, if you guys enjoyed this episode, you do know what to do. And in the next one, we round out one of the first chapters of our Cup Series career with this Joe Gibbs Racing team. We, of course, have a chance to fight for the championship against Kurt Busch in his final season of his Cup Series career, Brad Keselowski and Kyle Busch. So it's going to be an interesting one. There you see the trucks, Enfinger, Sauter, Friesen, as well as Haley Deegan will all go for the championship on that side of things. And then Todd Gilliland, Justin Allgaier, Zane Smith, and Ross Chastain will go for the championship on the Xfinity Series side of things. And then, of course, there you see the Cup Series. Now it's between Kyle Busch, myself, Kurt Busch, as well as Brad Keselowski. Honestly, I don't really know how to choose a favorite. I don't think Kyle Busch is going to be very competitive at Phoenix, but of course I could be wrong. I have yet to record that race, so I'm going to actually do that probably as soon as this video is done. But I just want to say before we end this episode, a thank you to the Go On Racing members: MJ, Aiden, Tony, Dylan, Joseph 9001, RJ, Timothy, as well as Bubba Jr. So I appreciate it a lot. And as always, like I said, if you guys enjoyed, you know what to do. Thank you all for taking the time out of your day to watch this episode, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day, everybody.